Okay, I want to kill this off here, right? Simon Jordan, Dominic Ingle, sort of like the Billy Nelson as well, amongst others. I've insinuated that one of the reasons, or pretty much probably the reason, Tyson Fury lost to Oleksandr Usyk, because these guys can't seem to understand how Oleksandr Usyk, with the advantages he has moving up to heavyweight from cruiserweight, because he does have advantages, was able to beat Tyson Fury. What's nothing to do with the fact that Oleksandr Usyk has better coordination, can actually have a bigger punch output because he's smaller and much lighter, is faster, better coordinated, good ring IQ, excellent footwork, tremendous fighter, was able to find his range very early on, set a pace, push Tyson Fury back, etc., 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 was able to adjust. It's none of that. It has all to do with Tyson Fury just not being in shape. And that right there is an insult to Oleksandr Usyk, for one, and the good work he did do. How is that going to help Tyson Fury win a rematch? Because if you want to have his best interest, and I'm not, obviously Dominic Ingle and people like that are not in his team, but Tyson Fury is the sort of guy where, look, in the immediate aftermath of the defeat, he said that Oleksandr Usyk won the fight because of sympathy, right? Because of what's going on in his country. I mean, just really, you want to give him the best chance of winning. You want to make him aware of his shortcomings in that fight, the mistakes he made, rather than, I mean, he's making excuses, much less all the people in the media, or not all of them, but a lot of people in the media and other trainers who should really understand boxing and should be able to look at that fight with an objective eye and say, Usyk did this right, but he did do this wrong, and Fury did this right, but then he did this wrong. Not turn around and say, I just wasn't in shape. And when you have the likes of Tony Bellew, someone who's shared the ring with Oleksandr Usyk, and explain that that's what he does. You can go into that ring in good shape, but Oleksandr Usyk mentally fatigues you. For them to just instantly say, no, that's not true. Well, what does Tony Bellew know? Well, Tony Bellew was a man who has actually been in there. Spent 8 rounds in there with Oleksandr Usyk. He tried his damnedest, and it was a good performance. Even though it was his last fight, it was a very good performance. You could tell that it was taking everything out of Tony Bellew just to be able to hang with Oleksandr Usyk. He was fatigued as hell by the end, and ultimately it meant that he was a bit more open, a bit more vulnerable, and he was ultimately taken out in 8 rounds. I've already talked about this in a separate video, and I just want to put to bed this notion that this was Tyson Fury not in very good shape. If you go back to, as you'll see there on screen, March of this year, you've seen just then articles from the Daily Mail, amongst others, showing before and after pics of Tyson Fury himself in the gym, posting pictures before and after. This was roughly 4.5 months after thereabouts, after his fight with Francis Ngannou, in which, if you had said Tyson Fury in that fight made it so hard for himself because he didn't train properly and he wasn't in shape, I would have to agree with you. And I would say, yeah, you're spot on. He really didn't train properly for that fight. He didn't do his due diligence. He was out of shape. And a fight that should have been easy, you saw what Anthony Joshua did, was made all the more harder by Tyson Fury coming in poor condition. So if you had said that for the Francis Ngannou fight, I would have said, yeah, 110%. Not taking the guy serious, not doing adequate preparation. Of course, yeah, fair enough. From that fight, he had till December, which was ultimately eventually binned. Not long after actually it was announced. It was, well, they were talking about that day. It was never officially announced, but they binned that day. Then they said February 10th. He was full steam in training camp for February 10th. Some people kind of worried a little bit, speculated would it happen? Would he be able to, stay disciplined over Christmas? And Carl Froch is one of those guys. Ultimately, we got near February, and then the fight was pushed back to May. The camp didn't essentially stop. It just meant that Fury wasn't able to spar because of the cut. And, he's still training. He's still in camp. And as I said, March shows the before and after pic, where you can clearly see he's in much better shape than he was at the weigh-in or the press conference for the Francis Ngannou fight. And if you need any more proof that Tyson Fury did do adequate training for Oleksandr Usyk and that he was in shape and that he, in many ways you could argue, didn't leave a stone unturned, is when you go onto his box rec. Against Francis Ngannou, 277 pounds. Against Oleksandr Usyk, 262 pounds. Against Derek Chisora, 268. Against Dylan White, 264. Against Deontay Wilder, 277. And against Deontay Wilder in the rematch, 273. You would have to go back to September of 2019, 5 years ago, when he fought Otto Wallin, the last time he was as light as he was when he fought Oleksandr Usyk. Now, explain to me, Dominic Ingle and other people out there in the boxing media, how a guy can not be in shape for a fight but come in a stone lighter, and in fact come in the lightest he has in the last 5 years. Just explain that to me. You know, how someone cannot be in shape. He was in shape. There were his weights. You had John Fury, who was in the training camp and originally was saying the training camp going into February wasn't going as how he'd like it, but ultimately they had more time to prepare. He was saying his son was in the best shape of his career, might even come in at a career lightest. He was way off with that, but he did come in significantly lighter. If you want to say, well, it wasn't the career lightest in the second half of his career, but it was certainly one of his more lighter weights. If you, again, look at some of the before and after pics and some of the articles that were going, it was all about Tyson Fury in good shape. Even in the week of the fight, you had people commenting on how good he was looking. You know, so again, I think that this proves the whole notion of he wasn't in shape. The reason why he lost that fight is very simple. Oleksandr Usyk was the better man on the night. He was able to pick away the first couple of rounds, land left hands on Tyson Fury, crucially to Tyson Fury's body, and ultimately in round 9, as you'll see on screen, he was able to find a big left hand. He was able to hurt Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury was hurt in round 9, very badly hurt, worse than I've ever seen him hurt. The minute's rest was also enough for him to recover, but the fact of the matter is, you do also tend to recover from knockdowns and being hurt like that if you are in shape. If you're not in shape, tend to not recover as quick. You tend to actually struggle a bit. He was able to come out in the 10th round. He lost that round, but he was able to come out in the 10th round and still give a little. Now, having been hurt like that, and that also fatigues you. You got to remember that. Being hurt and buzzed like that also fatigues you. If he wasn't in shape, how would he be able to go and not win the rounds, but be able to make certainly a little bit of a case for those rounds and recover from it if he wasn't in shape? And Dominic Ingle knows that. He knows that. He just can't understand, like a lot of people, how, and that press conference Tyson Fury did in Morecambe, in which he reeled off reasons as to why Oleksandr Usyk and a cruiserweight called the heavyweight can never do anything. You know, and again, he did that when he had no opposition. You know, you had people there who were never going to question Tyson Fury and some of the things he was saying, like Evander Holyfield losing to Riddick Bowe, forgetting to add that obviously he had a trilogy fight, and one of the reasons why he had the trilogy fight was, well, the fights were so good, but because it was 1-1 going into the trilogy fight. And I actually only watched the Riddick Bowe Evander Holyfield trilogy fight last night. It was brilliant. You forget how good it is. I still can't understand how Riddick Bowe got up from that knockdown in round 6, but he did. So he very nearly won that trilogy, did Evander Holyfield. You forget to add that. And it's almost like that when Tyson Fury did that press conference, and I've often said this, when someone who is charismatic says something with a certain degree of, you know, assertiveness, you can fool a lot of people. I would have thought that trainers like Dominic Ingle wouldn't get fooled, but ayo. And now you have these people doing mental gymnastics as to, well, how did Tyson Fury lose this fight? I mean, like, you know, was it something that Usyk did? No, it can't be that. It must be. It's just, not in shape. Not in shape. But he's lightest he's been in 5 years, and he basically 6 months, more than 6 months to prepare for the fight. No. Wasn't in shape. Are you implying he was in shape against Francis Ngannou? No. So yeah, that puts that to rest. I hope we don't hear any more about that. I hope we don't hear any more trainers go down that road. I'm hoping that this ends that then and there. He was in shape for Oleksandr Usyk. Look at the weigh-ins. Look at the weight. When has Tyson Fury ever been a Joe Six-Pack? The best I've ever seen Tyson Fury in a fight and on a scale was against Vladimir Klitschko in Dusseldorf. Have a look on screen. He has never looked as good as that in terms of being on a scale aesthetically. And even then, was he Mr. Joe Six-Pack? Was he Mr. Universe? Hell no, he wasn't. And he'll tell you that. That's not Tyson Fury, but that's the best he's looked. That was nearly a decade ago. And in that fight, the fight was fought at a slow pace. It wasn't. No one's going to go back and rewatch that fight for the joy of it. It was fought at a slow pace. But that's very good Tyson Fury in shape. That's him in shape, and that's the best you'll see him. And you won't see him in as good a shape as that again. But that doesn't mean he's out of shape now in 2024. You know, so can he win this rematch with Oleksandr Usyk? I'm sure he can. Do I think he will? No, not particularly. I don't think he will. If he's getting advice from people like Dominic Ingle and saying, oh, well, you just weren't in shape, and not addressing the mistakes he made in that fight, well, then he's goosed. Simple as that. He's absolutely goosed. He's never going to win. This rematch he's done before it starts. So I will leave it there. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that put it to rest. Tyson Fury was definitely in shape for this Usyk fight, the first fight. And this notion that he was out of shape is completely a myth. There you go. I hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe. Peace.